Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let us start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now Mahamrutyunjay mantra 3 times for all the people who are in suffering. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति. Welcome everybody. We'll start our class with the chanting of the forms. So first form of Rama, and in the same manner I'll say one line and you repeat after me, and then we'll do the whole thing together. Okay. Ramah Ramau Ramaha Ramam Ramau Raman Ramena Ramabhyam Ramaihi Ramaya Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramat Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramasya Ramayoho Ramanam Rame Ramayoho Rameshu He Rama He Ramau He Ramaha. Now all the forms together. We'll do it together. Ramah Ramau Ramaha Ramam Ramau Raman Ramena Ramabhyam Ramaihi Ramaya Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramat Ramabhyam Ramebhyah Ramasya Ramayoho Ramanam Rame Ramayoho Rameshu He Rama He Ramau He Rama. Now for the verb forms, verb conjugation dhatu rupa of the gam. Gacchati Gachatah Gacchanti Gacchasi Gachatah Gachatha Gacchami Gachavah Gachamah. Now all together. Gacchati, gacchataha, gachanti, gacchasi, gachatha, gachatha, gacchami, gacchavaha, gacchamaha. I hope you all had a good Easter which allowed you to contemplate within. I just want to share before we start Sanskrit class, this particular book actually I was reading during the Easter and a little bit before that. And this was given to me by Brahmachari Ben Baba. And it's a wonderful book actually. The Way of a Pilgrim. It was written by unknown Russian peasant in about 1850, 1860s. And he actually talks a lot about the prayer. So the way it starts that he hears Saint Paul's direction that pray constantly, and this thing just gets into his mind that how can I pray constantly? How is it possible? So I am not sure if you are able to see the book. I hope you are. So how can the book is the way of a pilgrim, the way of a pilgrim, and how can I pray constantly? How is it possible to pray constantly? And this thing, he just can't get over it until he gets the answer to this question. That how is it possible? There are so many things we do during the day. How is it possible to pray constantly? And he keeps on going to different people in church and other places, ask like, what does it mean? How is it possible? How is it to be done in practice? And slowly, when he meets many people, he is not quite satisfied with their answers. And then he meets a real saint whom he takes as guru, and he guides him that how step by step actually to attain this state of interior prayer. So if this should be available even on the internet as download somewhere, I hope, because it's an old book, even though the translation, and there have been a few translations, so this is not the only one. And if you can get to it, I would recommend you. It's a very good read. So a simple person, how he turns into a saint, that's what you will see. And he really goes into the details of very simple things. Like there have been some discourses in this where how is it possible to pray if suppose my mind is not cooperating? And all these things are explained so beautifully that yes, mind will not cooperate, and yet there is a way out. Saints have already told about this. So I really liked it, and I just wanted to share with you. So we'll start our Sanskrit class now. And what I'll do today, I'll just stop the video parts, just the screen sharing, so that you can just focus on the screen, and the screen also will show a little bit bigger on the, so that you can see a little better. So in any case, that would help. So I'll just stop the video part, but the screen would remain shared. Okay. So we actually did Sandhi. If you remember, out of the three things, these things, we are considering mainly three topics: Sandhi, nominal forms. So I'll just send, somebody is asking the name of the book, I'll just send it to everybody in the meeting. Book is so we are doing these three topics, and we have already done a few classes covering these topics. And now, as I told you, that we would be going more into details, a little bit depth into these topics. And some of these details, if you find difficult to follow, don't worry too much about it. Slowly it will come. As long as you get this idea, the basic idea of the basic structure, I want you to just slowly pick up. Even if you are a little late in the exercises, it's fine. just try to pick up slowly, what is the structure, how do you identify these forms, and how to make sense of these forms. We already did one class on Sandhi, and there are three categories of Sandhi: Swara Sandhi, Visarga Sandhi, Vyanjana Sandhi. Swara Sandhi is basically related to vowel. So Sandhi is when two sounds come together. That means two letters come together, and they happen to result into something other than those two letters. That's where the Sandhi rules come into place. So how the two vowels come together, how the two letters come together, the two words come together, and the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word, they come together, and they result into, whenever they result into a new sound, it becomes a Sandhi rule. Swara Sandhi is when both these letters are vowel. Then it is called Swara Sandhi. We studied Dirgha Sandhi when two similar vowels result into one long vowel. So if you remember from our alphabet, Akara, and just to remind that we say the sound of A, this is not A, this is A. Remember, like this could be sometimes a confusion when we read, when we write Sanskrit in Roman script. This is Akara. So to specify the sound of a particular letter, we add the word Kara. So we identify the sound Akara. And this is particularly important when you are saying the sound of, say, for example, when you're just referring to the sound of Ka. Now, this being a consonant cannot be independently pronounced. Sorry. This is the indication of halanta. Halanta means just that consonant alone exists. It's not with any vowel. So consonant alone in Devanagari. But the thing is that consonant cannot be pronounced by itself. It has to be pronounced with a vowel. So if I have to tell you this, I want to indicate the sound of ka, there is no way without saying the vowel. So how do I say the sound of ka? So this is one of the mechanism when we are speaking, that kakara. Kakara is just the sound of ka. So that's how we actually refer to the sounds in Sanskrit. And this is called rukara, but there is one this r dot under rukar, and this one just ra, which you see just r in IAST. This is called refa. Otherwise, everything else is just added the word kara. So akara, akara, ikara. So in Dirgha Sandhi, two similar vowels, and these are similar vowels when there is short version of it and longer version of it. So akara, ikara, ukara, rukara. When these two similar vowels come together, no matter they are short or long, they always result into a long vowel. So both the vowels together would result into the long vowel. That is called Dirgha Sandhi. Guna Sandhi. Guna Sandhi, when the dissimilar vowels take place, and the first of the vowels is akara. So it could be, when I put it in the bracket here, it could be either akara or akara, short or long version. When there is a dissimilar vowel, that means it is followed by a kara, ukara, or rukara again in the bracket, means these versions could be short or long. The resulting vowel is a. So a plus e, a plus u, o, a plus rukara, ru is ar. So that is called guna sandhi. Then another rule of dissimilar vowels is, if these three vowels, ikara, ukara, rukara, either short or long because they are in the bracket, follows by any other vowel, any other dissimilar vowel. Remember, for similar vowel, the dirgha sandhi will come into kick into. So any other dissimilar vowel, the second vowel remains unchanged. The first vowel, ikara, changes to yakara, ukara changes to vakara, and rukara changes to refa. We studied these three sandhis last time in detail. Now, continuing with the other aspects of swara sandhi or vowel sandhi. The next is vruddhi sandhi. These are just the names. These are the names of sandhi in Sanskrit. These are the technical words. Even if you don't remember the name specifically, name helps you to remember the rule. But main thing is, if you remember the rule, that's fine, even if you forget the name of the sandhi. But name helps you to just remember the rule clearly. So vruddhi sandhi says that, so guna sandhi we covered, that akara follows by ekara, ukara, or rukara. Vruddhi sandhi says, what if akara now follows by other vowels? Ekara, aikara, okara, or aukara. So they result into I. That means akara, but it could be short or long, remember, akara, because it's in the bracket here. So akara plus ekara, and there is no short or long version for these vowels. These are always considered long vowels. So akara plus ekara, aikara. Akara plus aikara is also aikara. Akara plus okara, okara. Akara plus aukara is aukara. And this is also kind of intuitive if you look at, because if I say I, so it comes like this. Similarly, and I, so like this. So you will find that this is kind of also intuitive sandhi actually. Most of the sandhis in vowel categories are fairly intuitive actually. So this is called vruddhi sandhi. An example, let's do with the example. So I'll just first put the rule here. So this is our vruddhi sandhi, and let us see what are the examples. So examples could be, one of the very simple examples come is cha plus eva. So you see the last is akara, that is here first, that is the first vowel, last vowel of the first word, and followed by ekara, the first vowel of the second word, will result into chaiva. Cha, eva, chaiva. It becomes a plus a becomes I. It becomes, so here if you look at this one plus this one, here result into this one. So this is the vruddhi sandhi. We'll see a little bit more examples. Then Ayadi Sandhi. Again, it's just a name. If it name sounds too difficult for you to remember, just remember the rule. So we have covered all the cases where the first vowel is akara, ikara, ukara or ukara. What if the first vowel itself is ekara, aikara or okara or okara? If this is the first vowel, the rule is really simple. The rule says that if it follows any vowel, doesn't matter short or long, except short a, except akara, because there is a separate rule for that. So these four vowels, whenever they follow any vowel, there is a resultant that ekara becomes akara, aikara becomes akara, okara becomes av, and aukara becomes av. So let's see this rule a little bit in more detail. So basically what I'm saying here is that I'll take an example. So let's say the word is te, eme. This is coming from Gita. Most of the examples I'm taking from Gita. So te me, it's te means they, eme means these people. He Arjuna is this te me vasthita yuddhe pranas tekta dhanani cha. So that's where it's coming from first chapter of Gita. So te, if you look at right now, just focus on the word, meaning we'll see later. A here is the first letter, that means last letter of the first word. Remember, whenever we say first letter means first in Sandhi, but it actually is the last letter of the first word and the first letter of the second word. And it's following any vowel except short a. So what it would become? It actually becomes, so ekara becomes akara. So I'll write the ime. So you see here, and they do not become one word. So remember, there would be a space between them here. Unlike here, the first example, where it becomes one word, here they will actually remain as two separate words. Just that ekara changes to akara, and the second vowel remains unchanged. Ikara remains ikara. And so on, we can have we'll see other examples. So I'll give you the other examples in a minute. So now the third case we'll see the Purva Rupa Sandhi. So what does Purva Rupa Sandhi says? It says, remember, like Ayadi Sandhi, when we discussed, it had ekara followed by any vowel, all these ekara, aikara, okara and aukara followed by any vowel except short akara, then it will change into this. But what if this is the exception, this is the separate case? So we call it Purva Rupa Sandhi. Purva Rupa simply means it actually changes, takes the form of the previous letter. In this case, the short are just drops and A and O remains unchanged. And you see this sign here, this is called avagra, I told you. So when short A is dropped, we actually write a sign to indicate that it is dropped, it's not there. So in Devanagari, it is like written like S kind of thing, and in IAST, it's written as apostrophe S. So one example here. So if I say the same word, te, asti. So here you see A follows by akara, the word would become testi in Devanagari, and here it will become, and it remain. So akara gets dropped, it becomes testi, and just to indicate that there was an akara, you put an apostrophe. It becomes one word. They do not remain separate. You don't put a space there. So that's how the Purva Rupa Sandhi means. It simply takes the previous form, and both of them together take the previous form. It is not pronounced. This letter is not pronounced. It is just an indication that there was something, a short akara, which is not there as a result of sandhi. So these are and we'll see a little bit more examples of these cases. So I'll take you here. So these are, I have taken from Gita examples, and na eva from 318. So we'll just see Gita also, so that you know that how do we apply these things in Gita. So 318 here. So naiva, you see this word naiva, and it actually becomes na plus eva, naiva. So naiva. Similarly, naiva means never. Actually, it maybe the never word is coming from here, but naiva generally means never. Na means not, eva means always, so always not is never. When come together, it normally means of a never. Na, eva, naiva. So which sandhi is it? If you look at, it is vruddhi sandhi. Akara followed by ekara becomes aikara. This one, cha aushadhi. This will become chaushadhi. So chaushadhi, it is the, and it becomes one word. Remember, again it is the vruddhi sandhi. Akara followed by aukara becomes aukara. Akara follows by aukara becomes aukara. Tathaiva. So tatha eva. So tathaiva. Here it is the long a follows by ekara. Again, this is an example of Vriddhi Sandhi. So I said whether it could be short a or long a here, it still results into aikara. So it becomes tathaiva, and it's coming from Gita 1:8. If you want to look at Gita, just so that you kind of have a sense how are we going to see these things. So here is the word Somadattis tathaiva cha. You see, tathaiva cha, tathaiva. So it is actually, if you have to split, it will be tatha eva, tathaiva. So right now we are doing the examples where we are taking the words already split and then putting them into the sandhi rule and then making one word. But in the text, actually, you will encounter this word and you have to split into the components. A little more difficult task, but it's possible, of course. So from that perspective, we'll do those exercises later on. First, I want you to have a sense of that how the sandhi works, and then we see how the split works. This one, Arabhate Arjuna 3:7. So if I go here, three seven, you see here this particular one, Arabhate Arjuna. Here it has become avagraha, and it will be pronounced as Terjuna. Arabha Terjuna, and here it has become the. So this is the word Arabhate Arjuna. So Arabhate Arjuna, this becomes, and which is this example in Sandhi? This is the Purva Rupa Sandhi. Ekara follows by short akara. Ekara follows by short akara. It becomes a Purva Rupa Sandhi. Karmana eva, it is very much as tathaiva. Karmana eva, tatha eva, and that also we have a Vriddhi Sandhi example. So here both of them would become karmana eva, karmana eva, karmana eva. Now this one, varte eva, I'll take you to this example here in Gita. And you see here, varta eva, it becomes varta eva cha karmani. Varta eva varte. So this is one of the very difficult to actually split, because these are already appear two separate words. How do you know that there is a sandhi actually which has caused varte from to varta? So when you do sandhi, it's easy. You know that these are the two words and they will actually result into. But when it is given you this word, like in Gita, how do you know that it is Varteva? So this is one of the, this comes from the practice actually. So practice and underlying the knowledge of the underlying words. Otherwise, it can confound many people. It seems like there is no rule here, just two different words. But when you know more and more words, you would realize that varta is not a word actually. And then the mind is, okay, what would be the word here? And then you can see, oh, it's followed by this, maybe varte, and then you know based upon your knowledge, varte is actually a word, makes sense. So it becomes varte. Because it is possible actually that varta could have been an also valid word, and then it would actually, but in that case it will become vartaiva. So this is a clue actually. So suppose if it were a separate word, varta would have been a separate word and a valid word. Then it actually, if this would have been the case, then we would have a sandhi here, which would have result into vartaiva. So this would be your giveaway when you see that the two words are there which are not combined, but there is no sandhi also. He is giving, that means there is some other sandhi, this ayadi sandhi taking place. So this is the ayadi sandhi, a followed by other vowel other than. So here it is, if you look at, a is followed by a and it becomes akara. So ekara follows by ekara, and the first ekara becomes akara. So if it were these two different words independently, it would have become vartaiva. Because it's not vartaiva, it's varta eva written in the text. You know that there is a possibility, or most likely a certainty, that there would be a sandhi here, which most likely ayadi sandhi. So it will come from the practice as well as underlying knowledge of the underlying words. Generally in Sanskrit, as a rule, there are exceptions of course to every rule, but as a rule, two vowels do not come together, and remain as separate. They normally follow one of the sandhi rule. So if two words are coming where last letter of the first word and first letter of the second word both are vowels, they will not just remain as it is. Some sandhi rule would apply as a rule. This is generally the rule. Vartante iti. So look at here, 328 in Gita. Same thing, vartanta iti. It is actually, and you can see if it were truly two independent words, it would have become vartanteti. Remember this rule, a plus akara plus ikara becomes ekara, guna sandhi. If it were, the fact that it is not happening here, it kind of tells you that it should be vartante iti, and that has changed into vartanta. So vartanta iti. So ekara becomes akara. Similarly, 147. Rathopastha upavishat. You see here, Rathopastha upavishat. It's giving two separate words. It's not combining Rathopastho upavishat. That means there should be a sandhi here, and this sandhi is actually causing ekara to become akara, and the words are Rathopasthe upavishat. So this becomes the combined word Rathopastha, and there remains a space here in between. So Rathopastha upavishat. Then another one, 2-4. So this is the word here, Pujar ha Varisudana, and here in our text we gave a space so that the chanting would be a little simpler, but it's actually one word, Pujar ha Varisudana. So this becomes, so you see, au followed by, so what is our rule of sandhi here is, when au follows by any vowel, so here okay, there could be a bit of a, so Purva Rupa Sandhi only takes place when the first vowel is Ekara and Okara. When it is Aikara or Aukara, then this exception does not apply. So this exception only applies when first letter is Ekara or Okara, not Aikara or Aukara. So Aikara and Aukara, even if it is short Akara, it would follow this rule. So Aukara here followed by Akara becomes Av, long A and V. And you see Aukara followed by Akara becomes Av, Pujar ha Varisudana, and it becomes one word. So then there are certain examples which I wanted to highlight some aspect which are not from Gita. So Shriyai Udyataha, here Aikara followed by Ukara. So what will become? Aikara becomes Akara. You see the rule here? Aikara becomes Akara and the other vowel remains unchanged. So Shriya Udyataha, like that. There would be a space. Vishnu Iha. So this will become, O becomes Av. O becomes Av, followed by a vowel. So it becomes Vishnaviha. So O becomes Av and Ikara remains unchanged. So Vishnaviha. Vishnu Ava. So you can see this one. Purva Rupa Sandhi, Okara follows by short Akara, and it becomes Avagraha. So they both will take together the form of the first letter, that is O, and Akara would disappear, and since it disappears, it actually has the apostrophe as kind of sign. That becomes Vishnova, and that's how you will pronounce Vishnova. You will not say Vishnova, Vishnova. So these are the just some examples I wanted to explain to you, and now I'll take the question actually. That so if you have any questions related to these sandhis, I'm also going to read the previous questions which we have, which I'm getting right now. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to, particularly this topic related to this sandhi, then I'll take those questions now. Okay, so lot of questions are there. So please give an example of Ayadi Sandhi. So hopefully now you have the Ayadi Sandhi examples. I gave enough. Another question is, in this Ayadi Sandhi, the two words do not join into one. No, two words remain separate. So for example, here Shriyai Udyataha. Shriya Udyata. Aikara, the rule is Aikara becomes Akara. There is a little bit more than this, but I don't want to confuse you with too many details right now. Maybe later on I'll tell you. There is a little bit of a special case here, Vinayadi Sandhi. But when Ekara or Aikara becomes Akara or Akara, they remain two separate words. Only the first letter changes. Do they only remain two separate words in Ayadi Sandhi? Yes, they remain two separate words in Ayadi Sandhi only when Ekara and Aikara, not in case of Av and Av. When it becomes Av and Av, they do not remain two separate words. But when it changes into A or A, then it remains two separate words. So actually what happens, maybe I'll just tell you because it could be a bit confusing sometimes to see that why they remain two separate words. So the rule says that Aikara actually becomes I. So rule says that Aikara becomes I actually. So in that sense, what would become? It would become so this will become I, and then it will become one word. So just like Au become Av, you see, Au become Av, I becomes I actually. There is a Y, Yakara. But here the rule says that this Akara, Yakara can be dropped optionally. And if you drop it, you actually put them as a separate words. So even though it is dropped optionally, generally that is the case. That's why I wanted to tell you this. So that's one reason why this Sandhi is called Ayadi Sandhi. It changes into I. So from there the word Ayadi is coming. But generally this Yakara is dropped and it remains as two separate words. So when you see in the text and you see these two separate words, you will see even here the same rule applies. So I can potentially actually write like this: Vishna Iha, drop the Vakara, but generally it is not dropped. So it is just a practice. Rule is the same for both. It changes into I or Av, and Yakara and Vakara both are optionally dropped. But generally Yakara is dropped in practice and Vakara is not dropped. So that's why you see the rule in this way. So there is same question. So for Ayadi Sandhi, it always remain two words for every case or do some words join. So now you understand. So the two words actually are joining. So what is happening here? Two words are actually joining, becoming Shriyadvyataha. But because this yakara is optionally dropped, and when I drop this yakara, then it becomes two separate words. So that's what is happening actually. Same way here, if I choose to drop this vakara, which I can, and normally it is in practice it's not dropped, but if I choose to drop it, then it becomes two separate words here also. So that's the reason why two separate words. It's actually one word, but because of another rule where it says that yakara can be dropped and vakara can be dropped, and when you drop it, it becomes two separate words. Why are taime two words and not combined compared to chaiva? So I hope those questions are resolved. Swamiji, which rules apply to Shivoham? We'll see that Sandhi. That's a Visarga Sandhi. It will come later. Please say the meanings. We'll see the meanings later on when we actually read the text. I wanted you to focus right now just on the rule of the words. That please, somebody is asking me, please slow down, you are going too fast. I'll try to be a little slow, but we will also have all these material on our repository. You can access from there too. I'll try to go a little slow. When do you know it is only one word or two? It's optional, as I said, yakara and vakara. If they are dropped, then it becomes two words, otherwise it is one word. Ayadi Sandhi, why example number 9 result in one word? So I hope now you understood this logic of one word versus two words. Then another question is of the same kind. Should number 11 be two separate words? Again, I think those questions are answered. In your great overview of Sandhis, could you add the information whether the words join or not? So I hope that part is clear. Why is Chaushadhi no long a? So Chaushadhi is the Vruddhi Sandhi, Cha Aushadhi, and the rule here is whether it's Akara or Akara, when it combines with Aukara, it remains Aukara. So that is the rule. That's why it's not long a. So this is the question here. On Chaushadhi, we had this word Chaushadhi. So that's how it is. Cha Aushadhi. It's not. So if you think this is Akara and this is Akara, and that confusion can happen when you read it in the transliteration. But it's actually not Akara, it's Aukara. I think that's where the question is coming. Why is it not becoming longer? It's Aukara. So it's not Akara here. It's Aukara. And because it's Aukara, it's this Sandhi which is taking place. Akara plus Aukara is Aukara. It's not Dirgha Sandhi. It's not Akara. So please be aware when we are writing in Roman script, there is always a little bit difficulty, this kind, that when we are writing in IAST, that it's not Akara, it's Aukara. This in Devanagari, it's very clear. So that's why this rule applies, not the Dirgha Sandhi. It's a good thing you pointed out. So Ayadi exception applies to A and O, not I and OU. That is correct. In Ayadi Sandhi, do the words remain separate in saying them too, or just in writing? Both. In writing as well as saying, they remain separate. In the example 9, Pujarhau Arisudana, is au short plus shorta be applied Ayadi Sandhi, but rule said except shorta. So I hope this is clear. This rule shorta only applies to A and O, not to I and OU. So I and OU, so maybe I'll put a little bit more, we'll put a more clarification here when we do the class notes. But the rule related to short only applies to A and O, not to I and OU. So only for A and O. That's why in Pujar Havari Sudana, this example, there it remains one word and this Sandhi applied. So there is a question, Swami, is there any Sandhi for N and H? I'm not sure. What does it mean? Please clarify. Can you please go through 9? How is it changing to A? So this is changing to A because we have AU. If you look at this one, AU and followed by Akara becomes Av. So it's actually changing into Av. Pujarha Vari Sudana. So the question is, I fear I might start to forget or mix up rules as I study more. Will you have assignments, exercise for us to make sentences using the rules sooner? I think it might help. Yes, we will have exercises, and I'll give you a good number of examples in the exercise. This definitely helps many people exercise part. Please post Sandhi chart in Drive. We will actually post more detail than this. We'll put in the class notes with the examples, so we'll put more details than this. What is the meaning of Ayadi? I hope it's clear now. The actual word is I, so that's why it's Adi means starting. So starting with I. This rule says starting with I. So because Yakara is dropped, it's kind of it becomes a confusing name, but that's where the name is coming from. Then for Avagra, isn't the previous sound extended for that period in speaking? No. Avagra, the sound is not extended of the previous vowel actually, previous vowel. It is just, Avagra simply indicates, in the sound actually there is absolutely no difference. Avagra is simply not spoken. Only in writing we indicate that there was something which is no longer there. That's why this sign is there. And some people don't even put in some of the older text in Sanskrit, they didn't even use to put the sign. So you are left on your own device whether there is actually drop or there is a new word. So can you please expand more on Ayadi Sandhi in notes? Yes, we will expand more on Ayadi Sandhi in notes, and there will also be exercises. Can I double check in Ayadi if it starts with A or I, then it is two separate words. If it is O and Au, then it is one word. That's correct. I hope I explained that part, that actually what is happening here in Ayadi Sandhi, that everywhere it should be one word. This, because the actual rule actually says that I actually results into I and A results into I. But because there is also another rule which says that this yakara can be optionally dropped, and vakara, just like here, if you look at, ideally if I would have to write the rule, I would be writing like this. This is actually the rule. So A becomes I becomes I, O becomes Av, and Au becomes Av. So that's the actually rule. But yakara and vakara, they are both optionally dropped. And when they are optionally dropped, then it becomes two separate words. When they are not dropped, but in practice what happens, yakara is generally dropped, vakara is not dropped. So just be aware of that. So with this, I hope, and we'll put a little bit more in the notes. So this, so I have taken all the questions which you sent me in the chat window. I would, so for now in the class, I would not give you the examples of this. I'll give you a quite long exercise for the homework for the Sandhi. I just want to cover one more concept in today's class. And that's a relatively simple concept. And that concept is related to nominal declensions. So I wanted to show you here this. We did these two words, Rama, and then we did this one as the masculine, singular, masculine akaranta in case of Rama. There is a akaranta neuter, which is very similar to the form of Rama, except in the first case, second case, it's a little different. So first case and second case, they are different and they are identical. Like, so it becomes, instead of Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha, Vana is a neuter word, which means forest. It becomes Vanam, Vane, Vanani. Vanam, Vane, Vanani. Both first and second case, they are identical in case of neuter. And this applies to all the neuter forms, that first and second case are identical, not just vana. It is a general rule that in neuter form, first and second cases are identical. Remaining all the cases, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, they are exactly identical to the masculine form. So Ramena becomes Vanena, Ramabhyam, Vanabhyam, Ramai, Vanai. And Sambodhana, again I told you Sambodhana, it always follows the first case except in the singular form. So singular form, it is following the same Rama form, He Rama, He Vana, and in dual and plural, it is following from the first form. So He Vane, He Banani, this is just coming from there. So I just wanted you to understand that just because we studied the masculine form, Akaranta, it pretty much follows that we can actually have this form also. The usage is always the same, and the usage is the same, the case usage, that which case is used for which purpose, that always remains the same, no matter which word we are handling. The form here remains exactly the same as masculine except the first and second case, and that becomes Vanam, Vane, Vanani. That is the only difference. And then He Vane, He Banani. As you can see here, Ramena, here is Vanena, and that we explained the Anatvam rule. So for this rule, which could be difficult for some of you, but which we call Anatvam, is simply just see the word, whether this word has the sound of Ra or Sha. If it doesn't, then rule doesn't apply. And if it does, the base word, the Pratipadika, if it does have the sound of Rukara or Refa and Shakara, then you need to check whether what are the letters following the Rukara and Refa. And if it is in those letters which we had in our rule, then it becomes Anakara. Now, one thing you have to remember, in case of Vanani, the same rule would apply because it is Ni. We are adding, like so to speak, Ani here. And because it is Ni, it will become Ni in some cases. So, for example, Karma, Karmani, and you might have read this word in Gita a lot, Karmani. This is coming from here. And this is one of the good things about this form, because this form generally doesn't repeat itself in the other nominal forms. There is a verb form which has the similar ending, but not the nominal form. And that verb form is not very common. So whenever you see this kind of form, Ani, generally it's a very good giveaway that it's a plural neuter, either first or second case. And you might have encountered this many times actually. So in puja, when we do here, and we say there is a prayer, Yani Kani Cha Papani. You see, Yani Kani Cha Papani, Janmantar Krutani Cha. So all these Ani, 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 these are all telling you that these are all the first or second case plural of neuter gender. So this is a very good actually pattern. If you see this pattern, there is a very good chance that this relates to first or. So I told you already, Karmani. These are the kind of, so when Indriyani, so this same Anattam rule which we discussed last time will apply in case of Ni also. So with this, any questions on this particular thing? Just the neuter form. Please give example of Rukara and Refa. This I already gave. If like Karma has Refa, so it becomes Karmani. What is the meaning of Vana? Is it forest? Yes, Vana means forest. What is the dual form of Indriyam? So it will become Indriye, like Vanam, Vane, Indriyam, Indriye. That's how it will become. Indriyam, Indriye, Indriyani. And I hope when you did the homework of putting the forms together of 3 nouns I gave, you see it is so easy. If you know one form, you can generate any form. It's like a find and replace. If you just take Ram, like in Rama, if I give you any, so for example, if you have Vana, and if I tell you another word Phala, all you have, and that is called Phala. So wherever you see these 3, particularly in Roman script, whenever you see 3 VAN coming, you just replace by PHAL, and that's it, and the whole form would be generated. Just you have to keep remember the Natvam rule, that whether it becomes Arnakara or Nakara. That's all. But otherwise, it is so easy to have one form from another. Okay, so please show the 8th case again. Okay, I'll show you. How to, 1A, how to recognize if it's not locative singular. All right. So this is the form. 1A, so this is a point here. 1A, here is also 1A, and this is also 1A. How do you know whether it is locative? So this is just purely context. You will see the whole sentence, and that's how you know. There is no automatic rule which will tell you that this is 7th case singular, this is dual. This is purely just like in English. The same word can be used for a verb or for a noun, and you can only know from the context whether it is being used as a verb, noun or a verb. Like, I will do this, the word will here, and it is my will. They have completely different usage. And how do you know? You know based upon the usage. Same way in Sanskrit. When you see the same forms, you know based upon the usage. Can you give examples for sentences regarding the same ending in subject and object? Neuter. Oh, this is just whenever you use the subject, you will use these forms. Whenever you use object, so for example, if you say the forests are burning, so Banani, you will use Banani in the subject form. And if you say I saw forests, so then you will see Vanani in the object form. It will be the same word, but based upon the context, you would know. Okay, so with this, if I actually would give a break and give you an exercise, and exercise is actually related to creating another form. So I'll show you the exercise. It's already posted actually in the repository. So if you have exercise, you can if you have the access, you can just access from there. And it's the exercise number 16. So I have already put the form of Vana, and I'm asking you to derive the form of Phala. It's very simple. As I said, it's just a basically find and replace. It's actually as simple. So use this document to generate the forms. You can actually download this this exercise from the repository, fill it up, send it to us, and we'll start. It is 10:08. I hope we can start 10:20. I'll also open it up here on the screen, this exercise. So exercise 16 for class, and so typed or written, whichever way you, for the class you better write. It's always good to actually get some practice so that you know how to make the letters. And I'll just put it up here. If it's not very readable, you can always download the document from the repository. Okay, so with this, we'll meet again at 10:20. I'll mute myself. Welcome back, everyone. Some people pointed out that there was a little bit of a typo here, which I corrected. There was a N with dot under na, and that happened because of the copy and paste. And I forgot to change. I changed Devanagari, but I forgot to change the script, that IAST. So please don't download the exercises right now. Give it half an hour or so, and then I'll correct these things, and then you can download the exercise after an hour or so. Thanks for pointing it out. So it's vanena. Now you see the corrected form is there, and vanana, not vanena. All right. So let me just. So I'll correct, make those corrections, and then you can do the exercises. Before that, I want to also show you the exercise for home. So I have put 3 exercises for home. So one is this sandhi. So this is split word. I think it's a split, not a split. Split word, joined word. That's what you will do. Tishtati karmakrit, and type of sandhi you will write out of. So this is having a mix of the previous 3 sandhis we studied. So it takes the examples from all the 6 sandhis. So this is one exercise, and this is pretty elaborate, 36, and all of them are from Gita. So if you have studied Gita, you should be able to identify, start getting some meaning out of it, that, oh, this is the word I had read and this is what it means. So I have taken all these examples from Gita, and you will write. So then we'll post a solution also for this exercise later on. But for now, I'll just post the exercise. So this is one exercise for you. Then another exercise is also home. And this you can do either on paper or computer. And just like Vana, so here, this is what I had left out as a mistake. You will do Shastra, and Shastra you will use the Anatvam, because remember it has the Refa and it only follows Akara, not any other prohibited letters. So that means it will become Nakara. So in neuter, Nakara will take place in first, second plural, this form, third instrumental, and sixth plural. And Kartavya. Kartavya is duty. Shastra is scripture. Then another exercise is study lesson 8 from Thomas Egenes' book, and send us the solutions by email. Answer key is there in Egenes' book. So today was only 1 chapter, not 2. So for some of you, I know that you have said that you have other things to do and homework is a little bit too much, but I have also heard the comments from many other people that homework has really helped them to understand the concepts much better. So we are definitely going to have the homework. I would request you that whatever you can do, continue to do, and then whenever you get the time, you will have opportunity to catch up. We are having this repository with all the videos, class notes, exercise, their solutions, so that you can catch up. But do not slack. I mean, because you do not start missing the classes and say, okay, I'll do later. That is only if you are really falling short of time, not able to because of your other duties. That's okay. Just do whatever you can. Yet keep the momentum. Whenever you get the time to catch up, please do so. So one person is saying, Swamiji, maybe you should not tell us whether Nattam is applicable so that we can figure it out for ourselves. Thank you. I really like this, but here I'm just telling you because so many people are at different levels. So yes, it would be beautiful if you can figure it out yourself. And we'll probably have more opportunities for those things. Swamiji, can you write Dirgha Sandhi, Yan Sandhi, and Guna Sandhi in Devanagari? Oh, Okay, let me write these things in Devanagari. So let me write here itself. So this is actually one, just 1 second. I actually got one software which allows me to type directly into the applications, and I'll try to see how does that work. So dirgha sandhi, that's how you write dirgha, and then guna, you will write guna, and yan, you will write yan, and vruddhi, vruddhi sandhi, ayadi, purvarupa. Sorry, this did not come correctly. Purvarupa sandhi. So this is just Devanagari words for these. So one person is saying, you told us Devanagari not mandatory, but Thomas Egenes book tells us to work with Devanagari. This is confusing. So wherever Thomas Egenes book tells you to work Devanagari and you are not right now prepared to learn Devanagari, then ignore those exercises, because book has its own style, and we are having this course specifically designed for beginners, and therefore I said Devanagari is not mandatory. So wherever you find Devanagari related exercise and you are not in a position right now to learn Devanagari, then just ignore those exercises. Can you please also type the letters also in Sanskrit? That is, I'll leave for you, Sandhi letters. Shouldn't Purva be Hiraswa, not Dirgha? No, it's a Dirgha. It's a Purva Rupa. Somebody is asking, I would like to print some pages with summary information. So we have the class notes. You can download those class notes and print. I hope this is the anama. If you mean something else, I'm not sure, but you can always print those class summary notes, or I have even put the presentation there in the drive, so you can print from the slides whatever is in the slide also. And whatever is in PowerPoint, you will find in more explanatory in the class notes. So you can check I have put the PowerPoint presentation, but I would request you to check the class notes more often, because that is more explanatory. Then, okay, so these are the questions. There is a comment that this book I think is excellent, clear and very user friendly. Excellent choice for text. Thank you. So with this, we have already come to the end of our time. Please do send your questions by email. I'll try to combine all those questions. So even if you're not getting the answers immediately, what I'm doing, as you saw in the last couple of classes, I'm compiling all the questions which you are sending by email, and I'm addressing this for the whole class for the benefit of everybody. So as and when we get some time, we will take 15-20 minutes, half an hour for the questions. My first priority is the questions which are coming via chat, because they are related to the topic on hand, and then I would also take those questions which are coming via email. So with this, we'll conclude our class, and with the closing prayers. By the way, I just wanted to tell you one thing, and you can actually, this is like a homework which is, I have not put an exercise, but just for your curiosity. You see this word, saha na vavatu. Try to see if we have covered a sandhi rule, which will actually apply here. Similarly, tejasvinavadhitamastu. See if this, in this prayer which we say in the morning, this sandhi rule would, any sandhi rule would apply. Send to us by email. Next class, just remind me, I'll cover which sandhi rules apply here. But it is one sandhi rule which we studied today. Okay, in these two words. Navabatu, this one Navabatu, and Tejasvinavadhitamastu. Okay, so just I wanted to give you a sort of some exercise for stilling your intellect. Closing prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everybody.